I wanted to ask about the founding of the United States and Freemasonry. Certainly Manly P. Hall, whom we publish, has written about that in his books, The Secret Destiny of America and The Lost Keys of Freemasonry. What role did Freemasonry play in the founding of the United States?
That's a wonderful question, and it's really one of the key questions that we face today in trying to understand Freemasonry. One of the great things about the books of Manly P. Hall, specifically Lost Keys of Freemasonry and Secret Destiny of America, is that he will call a theory a theory. He will call speculation speculation. He will review the ideas and talk about those among them that seem to be the best without trying to ram, one conspiracy theory or one imaginative point of view down the reader's throat. And again, with respect to Masonry and the American founding, we have more questions than answers. There's a lot of speculation, but what we do know is that some of the founding fathers, including Washington and Benjamin Franklin, were Freemasons. Jefferson may have been a Freemason, but we have no specific records that point to that. What we do know is that the Great Seal of the United States, which includes the unfinished pyramid and the all-seeing eye of God, was commissioned by the Continental Congress July 4th, 1776. That is a symbol that is tantalizingly similar to symbols that you find within Freemasonry. Masonry embraced images from the ancient world, pyramids, obelisks, pentagrams, symbols from the pre-Christian past. And one has to do a little bit of detective work with this. They didn't spell out exactly what they were driving at, but it seems like they were honoring the idea of a religious search as it existed in all great civilizations, including classical and pre-Christian civilizations. Now, on the back of our dollar bill, we have this mysterious symbol.
Right here.
Thank you very much. We have, as you can see, this mysterious floating eye above an unfinished pyramid. That is part of the Great Seal of the United States, and it's very suggestive of a Freemasonic symbol. Now, this iron pyramid is surrounded by a Latin slogan, Annuit Coeptis Novos Ordo Seclorum. Now, roughly translated, that means God or Providence smiles on our new order of the ages. This idea of there being a new order of the ages is a concept that you found within Freemasonry. There was a drive within Freemasonry to break with the European past, to break with state-supported churches, to break with a church that sought to control all religious discourse and serve as an intermediary between the individual and the search for God. Again, sometimes in our present culture, we think there's something sinister about this idea of a new order of the ages. To me, there was nothing sinister about this at all. These were people hungry for religious freedom. These were people hungry for a break with the past, not an absence of religion, but a freer form of religion. So obviously we find these principles in the Constitution. We find these principles in the Declaration of Independence. We find these principles in the early writings and letters of our founding fathers. Now, where would they have gotten these ideas? Again, some of these ideas came out of the most radical thought strains of the Protestant Reformation. Some of these ideas, to be sure, came out of the Enlightenment, but these people also had a personal connection to something called Freemasonry. And I think it's only commonsensical to draw the conclusion that some of those ideas came out of Masonry as well, especially when you see that the imagery and the heraldry of the Republic are suggestive of certain Freemasonic symbols. So I think Masonry had a hand, and a very positive one, in the founding of our nation.
What about the notion that Washington D.C., the city, is based on a Freemasonry design?
Well, it's a very tantalizing notion, and I think there is some truth to it. There are some scholars like David Ovison who have looked into this with great care, and I think they've come up with wonderful material. And the fact is, you need only walk through Washington, D.C., and you will find pentagrams, pyramids, obelisks, all-seeing eyes, zodiacal symbols. You will feel like you are in a hall of esoteric wonders if you actually have the eyes to look for it. If you walk into the Library of Congress, you can enter rooms that are absolutely decorated with symbols from mythology, from the zodiac, symbols that have very deep resonance in occult traditions, Freemasonic traditions. the Founding Fathers and the people around them embraced these things, not out of some desire to seem mysterious or supernatural, but because, and again, I think this was an idea that really comes to us from Freemasonry, because they honored the concept of a universal spiritual search, a spiritual search that had gone back through all the great civilizations, including pre-Christian civilizations. And that created a very great love for various kinds of esoteric, occult, and classical symbols. The city of Washington is absolutely decorated in them, probably like no other ancient capital would have been.
Mm-hmm. Can you see those same symbols in other cities in the United States, like walking down the streets of New York?
Oh, absolutely.
Chicago?
I mean, you know, those symbols became very popular again in the late 19th century during what was called the Beaux-Arts movement in this country. And that was just a movement where people wanted to try to recapture some of the beauty and some of the splendor of our early architecture. So if you go into the New York Public Library, everywhere you look, you'll find symbols of the Greek god Mercury. And by the way, the Greek god Mercury was a lot older than the Greek and Roman civilization. The Egyptian god of writing, Thoth, was so venerated by the Greeks that they called him Hermes Trismegistus, or thrice greatest Hermes. Hermes was their Mercury figure, which later got adopted into Roman culture. Anyway, the point I'm making is that you have a figure of Mercury or Hermes in Greco-Roman culture who is associated with the figure of Thoth in ancient Egyptian culture. And that symbol for that god, you will find on Grand Central Station here in New York City, overlooking the city. He's the great symbol of commerce, the great symbol of the exchange of ideas. You'll find him in the New York Public Library. You'll find him writ all over this city. In a sense, we're the city of Mercury. And no one was trying to be mysterious exactly by using these symbols, but they were honoring the idea that one could pursue truth, one could pursue a sense of the higher, a personal sense of God, without being tied to any one religious order. And again, I think the antecedents for that can be found in Freemasonry.